Well, hello and good day to all of you wonderful viewers out there. Hi, I'm Awesome Joe, and thank you guys so much for taking the time of your day to watching another episode of Awesome Joe's Movie Reviews. And yes, finally, today we are going to be talking about Marvel's new hit movie out in theaters right now, Thor, Love and Thunder. Now, you guys are probably wondering why it's taken me so long to go ahead and put this movie review up into development. Well, there are some reasons. I mean, I could probably just say off the bat that I have a very busy life. Things are happening. Things are you know, there are other priorities that I have to take place. Movies are my life, and talking about movies is one of my main priorities. But I'm just a very busy man with my life right now, and that is actually one of my excuses. You know, there's always something that is out and about that needs to be taken care of, and so I need to go out there and do what I gotta do. So, but my main reason why, because I was immediately already going to go and do my video review off of this movie immediately as soon as I left the theater, which was, of course, I saw it on opening night. But unfortunately, the way that I felt about the film as soon as I left the theater really caught me in a very complicated position here. Because, and to be honest with you, I actually did enjoy the movie in some perspective. But when all in all together, all in general, the way that I did feel about the movie is that I just did not like it. There's just something about it that really, I could feel that the way that Marvel is shifting itself into very different, different characteristics for our characters. Because I know that there was some complications with the Thor character and a couple of his first movies. When the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe first started. You know, the first one was okay, then the second one was the one that a lot of people weren't very fond of, which is The Dark World. I recently saw The Dark World. You know, I've seen this many times, but I recently saw it, and honestly, the whole time I was questioning myself, why would people dislike this movie? I understand that the villain is not as highly memorable as what Loki would be, or even Hela in the third film. And then we got Thor Ragnarok, and, you know, even Chris Hemsworth was even saying that he was just pretty much done with Thor because he was just bored with the character. And I could understand that, but then you bring in Taika Waititi, and he comes in and does Thor Ragnarok, and I remember when I first saw that movie out in theaters, the way that I felt about it was almost just the same as I felt about this movie, Love and Thunder. That it was just a huge shift turn. You know, you no longer got the same Thor that we knew and grew with within the last several of the first movies, and now here he is, this comedic goofball. And did I like it? Absolutely not. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, I love the comedy that Marvel puts into these movies, especially the ones that are very serious. You know, and I remember one in particular was Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Not a lot of comedic stuff put into it. It was a very serious, down-to-earth, political thriller kind of film. And I actually liked it. But yes, it was missing some of the Marvel comedic material that they put in their movies. But it was still a really great, perfect film. I enjoy comedy, but it's not one of my fortes. I'm not very fond of comedic films. I like to watch them, but it's not something that I could jump out of my seat and run into the theater to go and watch and spend a pocket full of money for. It's not really my style. So here, when it comes to Thor: Love and Thunder, and also as well with Thor Ragnarok, both directed by Taika Waititi, they both feel like more of a parody than a comedic Marvel film. You know, there's I think that the right comedic material was put into Ragnarok. You know, having to shift and change the whole aspect of what the Thor movies were trying to accomplish with. But this one, I think it did 10 times as worse with the comedic performance. There's some of the jokes in the last film that were put into this one, saying, "Oh, hey, you guys had a great time, jumping out of your seats, laughing, and having a fun time with the last one. Well, here we go. We brought it back in here again, and hopefully we get the same reaction from it that you guys did in the last film." So when that happened, I'm just like, I don't know. It's just, a whole lot of the movie really discouraged me. I was just ready in front of my camera, ready to press a button and just get going. But like I said, not every movie is perfect. Not every movie is perfect. And, there are going to have their flaws. And not to jump into any movie at all whatsoever with any high expectations, because generally for a fact that if you go in with expectations, you're pretty much going to leave the theater disappointed, because it's never going to be what you would expect, unless if there are leaked materials out there that are true. Then that's a whole other story. So you get your whole entire cast, star cast into this movie. You get Thor coming back, Chris Hemsworth. I didn't think that they were going to develop a fourth Thor movie. This is the fourth film of any type of Marvel movies to ever put up on a big screen. So it's great, because I believe that, yes, Thor, his first two movies weren't highly acceptable, and to say that those first three movies were a complete trilogy. But I think that, yes, he needed to get some more spotlight into this, even though that the majority of the main Avenger characters have all either passed on or retired. But Thor is actually one of the last ones. And, and the majority of everything that's going on in Phase 4 looks to be of a passing of the torch. And so I was wondering and guessing to myself, I believe that this is what this movie is leading itself towards. Because, as you all well know, at the ending of Avengers Endgame, Thor wasn't really too sure as to who he wanted to be, where he wanted to go. He had to follow his own path into finding himself. Which is what he did, leaving with the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is, of course, we do see in this movie as well, too. You get everybody coming back. Star-Lord, Chris Pratt, you got Karen Gillan, Palm Clementif, Dave Bautista, Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel, and even Sean Gunn. It was great getting to seeing them all. It's always great getting to seeing the Guardians of the Galaxy, because we're getting Volume 3 coming out very soon, this upcoming May. So very excited and looking forward to that. I was waiting for this one to come out. But they're barely in this movie, about a good 10 minutes, if not 15. And yes, of course, you would think that they would at least have some adventures together, and I was kind of hoping that we would get like a an exercise scene of both Thor and Star-Lord, Chris Pratt, working out together, seeing who's the more manly man of the crew and stuff like that. And you get some of that in this movie, but unfortunately, like I said, they're only in this movie for a brief short of time. And I just wish that we could have gotten to see more of them. But Thor has his own group of his own Guardians of the Galaxy cast. Besides the actual Guardians of the Galaxy, you get returning Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman, coming back. And of course, I have to be one of those people who would say that I've never believed in the love chemistry between Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman is a wonderful actress. She is a phenomenal, beautiful, spontaneous individual, and it's great getting to seeing her return, because I feel like the way that this is one of the positives from Taika Waititi, is knowing what to do with the character. Just because you have a female lead doesn't mean that she should be the in particular love interest to the main male character. So even though that they are, and they show a brief montage of these two and how the relationship went, and how it just very much divided the two of them breaking up, which was not even explained in Ragnarok, but just to say that they broke up. But they explained it here, and it made sense. And the only reason why the character Jane Foster becomes the Mighty Thor is because the Hammer, I'm not going to pronounce the Hammer's name, but I'm just going to say the Hammer. The Hammer was given permission from Thor, telling it that you got to protect Jane Foster from harm, and that hammer calls upon Jane Foster. According to comic books, and put into this movie that Jane Foster is with cancer. I don't know what kind of cancer, but I know it's serious, and she's on the terms of dying already. So that hammer comes in, and well, she goes to New Asgard, and she gets the hammer, and she becomes the mighty Thor, which was really great. I mean, she's real buffed. I mean, the outfit, I think, looked really great. But then I'm thinking as well, too, it's like, I understand that, you know, whoever holds the hammer, who carries the hammer, is, you know, possesses the power of Thor. You know, I get that, and I understand that. But Thor is actually Thor's name. Thor is not like a superhero name like Spider-Man or Iron Man or Captain America. All of that is just, all those are superhero names. But Thor, I mean, that's just Thor's name. And every time when they say, oh, I'm the next Thor, or I am the mighty Thor, I'm like, why can't you just be the mighty Jane? So, but because comic books, I suppose. So, but yeah, you really do accept the love chemistry between these two characters in this movie. I find it really very much redeeming itself. These two reunited and developing the chemistry that spark right back into the movie. So it was great getting to seeing that. Now, one of the really huge positives about this movie that I really did love, and I have to give him huge credit, which is to Mr. Christian Bale being the villain of this movie, Gore, the God Butcher. Now, like I said, I don't really follow comic books, but based off of the material that I've been following, is that this character was just recently introduced in the comic books, and the way that Christian Bale's character is developed into this movie is highly away from the way the character looks like in the comic books. In the comic books, it looks very alienish, but this one looks very black and white Christian Bale. But the thing is, the way that he acts is just, wow, astonishingly incredible. It's just, wow. I mean, I couldn't even believe that this was Christian Bale. He became a completely different character. If anything, if he weren't Batman in the Christopher Nolan movies, he would have been a really awesome Joker. I mean, the way that he acted was just, wow. I mean, just, it blew my mind. You know, I couldn't believe it. He was a completely different person. And that's what you just call great acting. You know, you get Valkyrie in this, returning, played by Tessa Thompson from the last movie into this one, and in the Avenger movies. Here, I don't really think that her character was necessary. I believe that she was just in the movie just because she is part of the Thor cast now. And, you know, and just because she's king of New Asgard, you know, you would think that there would be some sort of character development, some story, bits and pieces of it, putting itself together and building a character storyline for her. But unfortunately, there wasn't anything. So I was wondering, what was the point of her even being in this movie? And I believe that she got stabbed at some point in one of the fight sequences, and yet did not die. Okay, so it's like, I just don't understand when it comes to these killing things now when in these movies. You know, some people get stabbed, but yet apparently stabbing is not a killing source. You know, it's just, oh, you're just temporarily wounded. It'll heal. You'll be better in the next movie. But yeah, and then you get Korg coming back, voiced by the director himself, Mr. Taika Waititi. I do love the comedic performance of this character. Taika Waititi does have some good aspects when it comes to his comedic performances, and I love on how he mispronounces some of Jane Foster's names several times when he brings it up. You know, like Jodie Foster or Jane Fonda. So those were really funny bits and pieces of comedy in this movie that I really did enjoy. So if there was any part of any comedic performances that were to be put in this movie, I wouldn't have pointed it more to Thor. I would have put it at Korg, because he was just he was very funny in this, and talking about when it comes to those the goats, the screaming goats. Every time you see those screaming goats, I mean, it's just like, oh my god, it's annoying, but in a funny way. So it was a great addition to the film. Now, new into this, we got Zeus, played by Russell Crowe. Now, we all know that Zeus is not really a Marvel character, but of Greek mythology, and we've seen very different aspects of the character, played by different actors in several other movies. But it was great getting to seeing Russell Crowe. He's been in the DCEU. He has been in that stupid Tom Cruise Mummy movie from Universal, supposedly supposed to be a cinematic universe as well, but wasn't successful. And now here he is in the MCU playing Zeus, and he was really good in this movie. I really did like it. But what was the use of his character? Well, within that in particular scene that we see him interacting with Thor, there wasn't really any importance to it other than the fact of our leading team trying to collect Zeus's thunderbolts to use it as some point later on in the movie. But really it was meant for the mid-credits scene, which is revealing. I've been hearing a lot of stuff saying that, oh wow, you got to see the mid-credits scene. It's going to be awesome. I mean, you can't wait. It's going to be the best thing ever in Marvel Cinematic history. I'm like, okay. So am I thinking Galactus, Doctor Doom, the mutants? I mean, what is it? What is it going to be? Fantastic Four? No, it was freaking Zeus's son Hercules, revealed, played by Brett Goldstein. And I'm like, that's the big surprise? Okay, well, I understand that Hercules is a character in the Thor comic books. Like I said, I don't read them, but based off of material that I've heard from, that he is, and he's going to be the next big villain in if there were to be a Thor 5. And I believe that Taika Waititi agreed to that if there is a Thor 5, that he would return and direct that movie as well, having his complete Thor trilogy as a full circle. So, but yeah, when I saw that, I was like, okay, not a huge surprise, not anything that I would say that is anything interesting, but okay, fine. I'll see Thor 5 if there is a Thor 5. But as of now, I'm just like, I'm not really surprised. I'm just like, okay, great. Another character I'm not very familiar with. I know who Hercules is, but when it comes to the MCU, not very familiar with it. And like I mentioned earlier before, that there was several funny bits of the last film put into this. You get actor Thor played by, of course, Chris Hemsworth's brother Luke Hemsworth, and then you get Matt Damon coming back as actor Loki, Sam Neill as actor Odin, and then you get Melissa McCarthy. Oh my gosh, that was a huge surprise for me as actor Hela. Now, it wasn't a huge surprise to other audiences because from what I heard, there was some leaked material of her dressed up as Hela, and which gave away the funny bit of that. But for me, I never really knew about that. So when I first saw this reveal, I'm like, oh god, I was laughing at the edge of my seat. It was really funny. I actually enjoyed it. And then there's some other characters that pop up into this, several cameos that had very little small screen time. Wish I would have gotten to see more of them. Jamie Alexander Sif finally returns into the Thor movie, but is only there for a minimum amount of time. And since Gore is the God Butcher, she gets her arm cut off because comic books. I don't know what happens later on with that character, and I would love to get to see more of her. I wish that she was the main love interest to Thor, but unfortunately that didn't happen because Natalie Portman. But yeah, it was great getting to seeing her coming back. She did come back in an episode of Loki. It wasn't really her, just an image. But then you get Kat Dennings coming back. We saw her in WandaVision. Apparently she may have superpowers because she got hit by the Hex, but it wasn't revealed in this. I was expecting that to happen, but it didn't happen. Stellan Skarsgård was in the other two Thor movies and several of the Avengers movies. And he was only in this for a brief amount of time, just having a brief discussion with Jane Foster about her cancer. And surprisingly, Lena Headey was supposed to be in this from 300 and Game of Thrones. Because of some, in particular, issues with her and her businesses. She was cut out of the film. Then Jeff Goldblum and Peter Dinklage were supposed to be in this movie. Two really great of the actors that were in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It would have been great to seeing them, but unfortunately that didn't happen. But it would have been great for some reasons. I don't know why. But, oh my goodness. But like I said, this movie is just jam-packed full of things that occur on within this entire film. One of the main things that I really want to talk about is because of Gore the God Butcher. The way that the movie started, because I'm a godly man. I'm a Christian man. I believe in God 100%. Okay, and then when I see this character, he's the same way. He's a follower of his God, and he put a lot of his faith into his God, but unfortunately his village and his people had died, and then his daughter dies at the beginning of the film, and then he meets his God, and his God is nothing more than a douchebag, so he completely wasted his time and his prayers and his beliefs, and so he finds the sword. I forgot what it was called, but the sword, and becoming the God Butcher now, and slashing his God, and makes an oath to kill all gods, because he believes all gods are the same, like how the one that he was worshiping. So and it really put a lot of question marks into my head. Not that I'm saying that I disbelieve in God, or do I not love my God anymore. No, that's not the case. The thing is that it just makes you think. It just makes you wonder. It's like, wow, what if my God was like that? But I know it's not. I know he's not. And I don't want to get biblical here, but it's just, it really got me to thinking, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to go down that route. But also, when it comes to Gore the God Butcher, the thing is, he's called Gore the God Butcher. And we don't see him butcher anybody other than what he does in New Asgard for a brief matter of minutes, and then that's it. We don't really see any more butchering. And that was kind of sad, because when I saw the marketing material of getting to seeing Zeus and all of the other gods coming together, you would think that, oh, Gore the God Butcher has this big opportunity to killing all of the gods in this one room, in this kingdom room. And you would think that there would be a fight scene of Gore the God Butcher barging in and killing gods, but that didn't happen. So I was kind of disappointed in that. So very, very bad, isn't it? So anyways, you guys, Rotten Tomatoes went ahead and gave this movie a 68%. So I'm not really surprised. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher, but after having to seeing it and seeing the percentage, I would have to go with it. 68% is a percentage that I would have to agree with. But on my terms, the way that I looked at the film, being highly disappointed, a lot of positives into the film, that I find that Thor Love and Thunder is actually at a 56%, the way that I find it. 56%. So like I said, I did enjoy the movie. There are a lot of positives, but when it comes to the the comedy into this movie, I'm sorry, I just wasn't very fond of it. It wasn't really something that I really admired at all, and I just think that when it comes to the comedy, they need to really turn it down a huge notch and get a little bit more serious. I mean, the comedy is not bad, don't get me wrong, when putting into these movies. But, there's times where you really just need to get serious about this stuff. So that's pretty much all the complaints that I have when it comes to a movie such as this. One final note before I end this video here is that there's the end credit scene, which my brother invited me to go, and when we saw it, and I'm like thinking, okay, well, we already got ourselves a serious mid credit scene, and I'm pretty sure the end credit scene is gonna be something like a funny little bit. And like what Doctor Strange did, which was, oh god, disappointing. But yeah, you'd think it would be a funny bit, but unfortunately, no, it was actually a serious one. Natalie Portman, of course, dying from cancer. The hammer itself is supposed to protect her, but is actually killing her, and she dies in the final battle. And oh, by the way, I didn't even know that Gore the God Butcher's daughter that had died at the beginning of the film is actually Chris Hemsworth's daughter. So, and then, and I had some high speculations to believe that the way that this movie was going to end is that Thor was actually going to become a dad at the end. And I thought it was going to be, Jane Foster's daughter, Thor's daughter, kept in secret until the end of the film. She was pregnant during their breakup and stuff like that. So, I was thinking something like that, but no, instead, Gore the God Butcher brings back from the Eternity God to wish her daughter to be brought back to life, and since Gore's dying and Jane Foster's dying, so it leaves Thor to taking care of this child as his own, and I'm like, okay, it was highly unexpected, but okay, we'll see what happens, where this takes it to. I mean, so then she's the next Thor then? Because she wields Stormbreaker now, and now Thor has his hammer back, so I'm just like, okay. So I'm excited to see what's next. It's not really what I expected, but alright. But anyways, back to the end credits scene. She goes to Valhalla, which is supposedly heaven in the MCU, and she meets up with Idris Elba, who comes back surprisingly. I didn't know that, as Heimdall. And I'm like thinking, I wonder, well, who else is in Valhalla? Of course, Thor's mother's got to be there, and it would be really cool if we got to see Iron Man there, you know, and whoever else had died in the MCU, you know, like Black Widow. So I mean, there's just so many ifs, ands, and buts about, you know, what's gonna happen next. And you know, and just very recently they did a San Diego, this last weekend they did a San Diego Comic-Con, which a lot of stuff had happened in there when it came to the MCU, which I'm not going to talk about in this movie because there's just so much to talk about when it comes to that. I never really do movie news on this, only movie reviews, but it would be very nice if I did movie news every once in a while, just to, you know, jumble up the excitement there. But yeah, I'm wondering what would happen next. And of course, at the end of the film, it says Thor will return, like how they used to do it in the Marvel movies. So really exciting. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next. Phase 5, Phase 6 is announced. Phase 4 is almost over with. We just got She-Hulk coming out in August, and then I believe I Am Groot is coming out as well too in August. And then in November it will be Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Very excited about that. So, oh man, so much of projects to talk about here that I'm so excited to. I mean, I know I still got Elvis, the Black Phone, Minions, The Rise of Gru. I was trying to do Miss Marvel, but unfortunately there's just so much material out there right now, and it's hard to stay track. I'm only one man here, and movies are my life, but it's just so hard to do everything all at once. So anyways, you guys, that's my review for Thor: Love and Thunder. What did you guys think? I know you guys have already checked it out in theaters. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, please feel free to leave it down in the comment section at the bottom. Let's have an awesome time talking about this movie or any movies that you like to talk about in general, because I love to talk about movies, but most importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And don't forget that you can check out some more of my videos on Facebook and on YouTube. Just look me up at Awesome Joe Movie Reviews. Don't forget to click on that like and subscribe button there, everybody. I really do appreciate everybody's support on my channel. But once again, everybody, I'm Awesome Joe. Keep on living the dream, and as always, stay awesome. Thanks you guys once more again, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Bye.